Hey guys, happy Thursday. Doing another live stream this week. I'm doing a lot of live streams this week. I'm damn proud of myself. I haven't been doing this many lately, so yay. Welcome to the live stream. Super pumped to have you here. Today is my 10-year blogiversary. So 10 years I've been blogging now. So freaking crazy to me when I look back at where I was in 2008 compared to where I am right now. It's actually a little bit mind-blowing. Just because of how bad I used to be when I first started as far as procrastination and all that goes. But you know what? If I can get to this point in 10 years, so can you. So I wanted to just share a couple of things, actually something pretty awesome that happened to me this morning. And then a few things that I've not just learned over the years, but that have helped me to actually continue going and to actually become, the writer, the author that I am today. So welcome to the live stream. Like I said, if you are here and you want to say hi, feel free to do that. I know a lot of you are going to watch as a replay, so feel free to ask questions later or anything like that. But yeah, I'm really freaking excited. This is such a cool day. This week has been amazing. So not just because of my 6-year quitiversary and my 10-year blogiversary, but I was actually looking at some of my Facebook memories from the last, however many years when they show them to you. And it turns out I actually published my very first book this week, 8 years ago, which I didn't even realize. And then this morning, coincidentally, not intentional, but coincidentally, I finished the very first draft of my very first screenplay. So it's a crazy week for me right now, and lots of cool stuff happening. Lots of giveaways, lots of fun stuff happening too. So if you're not in my Dream Life Robust Facebook group, be sure to get in there because that's where all the giveaways are going down. But there's a mantra that I live by, and it's something that I lived by even back 10 years ago when I didn't even know that it was something I was living by. It was sort of an internal thing that was going on, but I didn't actually have words to describe it. But that is exactly what my shirt says right here, which you can't see it. I know it's backwards, but it says, "There is only plan A." And that thought, there is only plan A, is really that thing that finally got me to start my blog in 2008. So all the years before that, first of all, blogging wasn't even a thing, really. So that was sort of a new thing that I learned about when I was in journalism school. We had to code our own blog. So back in 2002, 2003, when I was in college, we learned about blogs in my journalism class, but blogs were not a thing at that point, really. So there was no easy way of putting a blog together. In fact, everything was HTML based at that time. So if you wanted to build a website or a blog, you had to know coding in order to do that. And so it was something that I, thought, oh, this would be so cool, but I didn't know coding. I wasn't going to learn HTML code. That's crazy. So a few years later, WordPress came out, and Blogspot was around, and that's Google owns that. I don't know if they owned it back then, but they definitely own it now. And all these other little blog editing things started to come around where it made blogging easier. But every time I tried to start a blog, I would get stuck, or I would just get bored. The topic I chose just didn't feel like the right topic, and I got tired of it, or I ran off things to say. So I had a lot of false starts before I got to March 2008, when I finally made the decision that I was going to start a writing blog, and it was going to be the blog that I actually continued with and that I continue to be consistent with. So my very first piece of advice for anybody who wants to do a blog or a book or any other writing project that you want to take on, and this is something that I took on for my screenplay that I just finished, and that is just start. Just start. Don't worry about how you're going to do it. Don't worry what's going to happen 5 weeks, 10 weeks, 10 years down the road. None of that shit matters at the beginning. Just start. Figure out what you can do right now from the place that you're at right now, and then take action. And that was exactly what I did in March 2008. So in the beginning of that year, I decided it was the year I was going to write my very first novel. Fast forward to March of 2008. Still hadn't even, really made a dent into that project. I started writing a little bit, and then I stopped, and I was just getting really frustrated with myself. And going back to what I was saying about there's only plan A, I knew back then what I wanted for my life. I knew I wanted to be a professional writer. I wanted to be an author. I wanted to have novels out and books out. I knew that I wanted to make money from my writing. That was all I ever really wanted. And so for me, there is only plan A. And like I said, even though back then I didn't have the words to say that, that's exactly how I felt, which is I'm going to figure out a way to make this happen because I know what I want and I know that I'm going to get there somehow. I don't know how. At the beginning it was very intimidating because if you haven't heard my story already, I was the biggest procrastinating writer who ever lived. I used to call myself the queen procrastinator because that's exactly what I was. In 2008, when I started my blog, I actually named it Procrastinating Writers because that's what I was. I was a procrastinating writer, but I didn't want to be anymore. So my blog was created with the purpose of, first of all, documenting my journey to writing my first novel, which was my big goal for that year, and then 2, being consistent for the first time in my entire writing life. Because up until that point, consistency was not something that I was good at. And so I just fucking started. Like, that was the first thing, was I just made the decision I was going to do this. I decided that I was going to document my journey to writing my first novel and that I was going to write 1 blog post a week for the whole year. That was what I decided. So that moves me into the second thing I would say for anybody who is wanting to start a blog or any project, is that you have to create a way to be inspired, but also to keep it simple so that you can be consistent. So you have to create a simple way to be consistent, basically. So what I did was 1 blog post a week. Very simple goal. It was something I knew I could keep up with. I knew I had a ton of stuff going on at the time, as far as like I was doing a lot of writing research. I was learning a lot about storytelling. And so I just knew that I would be fine writing 1 blog post a week. Now, of course, there were definitely some weeks where I resisted it. There were some weeks I was late. There was 1 or 2 weeks where I skipped it. But for the most part, I stuck to it, 1 blog post a week for the whole year. And of course, as I documented my journey to writing my first novel, I actually finished writing my first novel. So September of 2008, I basically got my first draft written. It wasn't an actual novel, but I didn't know it at the time. I just was so elated to have the damn thing finished that I was like, I did it, But of course, I had a whole lot more to learn from there. But honestly, the thing that always bugs me is that people will talk about the stuff they want to do, talk about different writing projects, or talk about this dream they have, but then they just talk and they never take any action. And the thing you have to realize is that if you had just taken action on that project or that dream a year ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when you were actually talking about it and thinking about it, instead of just continuing to talk about it and think about it, you would be so much further along right now. And that was really the biggest thing for me, was that I just realized you have to just start. And if you just start and find a way to keep it simple with consistency, then you'll actually get consistent and you'll start to build up a catalog of blog posts and a catalog of projects. And so I did not start where I am right now. Where I am right now is writing is the most important priority in my day besides my mindset and energy practice. It is the number one thing that I do every single day before I do anything else. But that's not where I started. So don't look at where I am now and think, oh, it's going to take so much work to get there, because it doesn't. It's just being consistent. It's just focusing on where you want to go and knowing, what it is you want, and then taking whatever action you can every single day from where you are right now. Which really gets me to the next thing, which is if you do find yourself making the decision that you're going to do this, starting to take some action, being a little bit consistent with it, and then you fall off track or you skip a few weeks or whatever, the worst thing you can do is let that be the thing that stops you. And this is what happens to a lot of people, is that they're on a roll, they're doing a good job, but then they fall off track and then they just convince themselves that they shouldn't even bother getting back on. It's too hard. I'm never going to be consistent. I can't do this. It's a waste of my time. I don't have time right now. But really, if you just recognize that, okay, whoops, I got off track. No big deal. Just get back on. Keep it, keep it light. Don't force yourself into this whole mindset of, oh, I can't do this and I'm not good at this and I'm never going to be consistent. I mean, and that was what I used to say to myself back then, was I'm a super procrastinator. I'm never going to stick with anything. Like, it's too hard. And yet, even with all that bullshit, I still figured out a way to just keep going. Pick something simple. 1 blog post a week, 2 blog posts a month, whatever you can do that's simple for you, but that you can be consistent with. Start there. Once I did that for a whole year, then I was okay, I could do more than 1 post a week. And then I started doing more than 1 post a week. Then I got up to 3 a week, and now I'm 5 days a week for the most part, blogging or writing stuff for my, emails or creating videos, just whatever I'm, sort of doing that day. But it's all something that I built up to. So it's not like I just started here. Oh, I'm just going to get started and every day I'm writing blog posts and stuff. No, that's not where I started. I was the worst procrastinator. the worst. I have a lot of memories of when I would procrastinate, but one in particular that really stands out to me is there was a Saturday afternoon. I had the whole day to myself. Like, my whole day was free. My husband was working from noon to midnight. He had a job where he had to work for 12 hours on a Saturday. So I had the whole day to myself. And I was like, yes, I'm going to write today. I'm going to get my stuff done. I'm going to do my blog post, whatever. And then, of course, what happens? The same thing that happens to every procrastinator, right? You do the dishes, and you get the groceries, and you clean your apartment, and you look for all these other things that are way more important than doing your writing. And I got to a point that day where everything was done. The dishes were done, the laundry was done, the apartment was clean. All that I had left to do was do my writing. And instead, I grabbed a sponge, I got down on my hands and knees, and I scrubbed the bathroom floor. And I fucking hate cleaning. So just to show you how bad that procrastination was, I hate cleaning. You couldn't get me to clean in that way ever. And here I was intentionally, let me scrub my bathroom floor with a frickin' sponge. That was the moment where I finally decided it's time to get off the procrastination train. Like, it's time to stop letting this be the thing that holds me back. So in that moment, I made the decision that I was gonna just keep going no matter what. And when I did fall off track, I was gonna recognize it as fast as I could and get right back on. So that's all you ever have to do when it comes to being consistent, is if you recognize that you've fallen off track, because it's gonna happen sometimes, you just don't make it a big deal, because that's what we end up doing to ourselves, is we make it a big deal and then we build up a story around it and we start making excuses about it. And instead of just being like, oh shit, I got off track, I'll get back on right now, or I'll get back on tomorrow, and then actually doing it, we just fall into a trap of, oh, I'll wait till tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. Just catch yourself and get back on track. It's that simple. And when you keep it simple for yourself, so when you don't try to overwhelm yourself with, I have to write 5 blog posts a week, or I have to write my entire book this month, whatever, project you have going on, if you just make it simple, keep it to a fact where you could actually do this stuff and not feel like you're overwhelmed. Because the idea of writing a whole book in a month, especially if it's your first one, is really intimidating. Same thing with blogging. It's intimidating to think, oh my gosh, like, where am I going to be in a year or 2 years or 3 years? Can I even keep this up for 6 months? But if you don't look at all that and you just focus on where you are right now and in this moment, because again, the future doesn't even exist yet. Like, that stuff's not even, there. All you really have is right now. So just start, make it simple for yourself. Choose something that's simple enough for you to keep consistent with. Grow from there. Catch yourself when you fall off track and get back on as fast as you can. And if you continue to do that over and over again, a few years down the line, you're going to look back and see how far you've actually come. So that's the biggest things. It's all of that. Now, there's a couple other things I wanted to share because I think this helps as well when you're on this journey of learning how to be consistent, how to overcome your procrastination, is that you just keep fucking going no matter what. Big deal here. Just keep going no matter what. So yes, you're going to fall off track. Yes, you're going to make excuses sometimes. Yes, you're going to procrastinate a lot. It doesn't matter. None of it matters as long as you get back on track and then just keep going. And that's really all I did for the last 10 years. I'm not saying that I was perfect all this time. Like, hell no. Not even close. Like, all the last 10 years, I can think of several months where I just didn't do anything, where I had, I'm not going to do this, I don't feel like it. And procrastination doesn't just go away. It's sort of like fear or, doubt or worry. It's never going to completely go away. It's kind of a part of the creative process. But you learn how to manage it, and you learn how to know that it's going to be there and then continue on anyway. And that's exactly what I did. Was if I got off track, I didn't make it a big deal. I just got back on when I was able to, as soon as I could. And then I just kept going. And I just kept going, and I kept knowing that, again, there is only plan A. There was only one thing I ever wanted, and that was to be a professional writer. And so I just knew if I just kept going, kept taking action, that eventually I would get to that point. I didn't know how long it was going to take. I didn't know how much work I was going to have to put in, but I didn't think about that stuff ahead of time. I just thought of, in this moment right now, what is one thing I can do to continue moving forward, to take a little bit of action. And that was it, just to keep it simple. But it all began with just starting, which is the thing that most people don't do. They talk about stuff, they think about it, they tell other people about it, but they don't actually just start. And that is the thing that will stop you every single time, obviously. You have to start in order to keep going. In order to get a result is that you have to start. And that's exactly what I did with my screenplay. So I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream that today I finished the very first draft of my very first screenplay, which has been a dream that I've had for such a long time now. And when I was 11 years old, reading Nicholas Sparks' books, seeing his books turned into movies, I knew that this is what I really wanted, was not just to be a novelist, but to have my stories turned into movies. And so earlier this year, I thought, wait a second, if I know my big dream is to write screenplays and to be, having my stories turned into movies, well, then I need to take some frickin' action on that right now. And so what did I do? I just started, just like I did with the blog. I don't know anything about screenwriting. I know storytelling, obviously, and structure and all of that helped, but I didn't know anything about formatting a screenplay. I'd never written a screenplay before, but you know what? I just started. I bought the software, I learned how to use it, and then I just started writing the screenplay. And then I continued on, and every single day I just worked on it 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, here and there. Maybe I skipped a few days, but I always just got back to it as soon as I could. And now 2 months later, 2.5 months later, it's finished. So just start. No matter where you are, you can always get to where you want to go from here. So it's just start, take action, be consistent as much as possible, and get back on track when you fall off. And if you do those things, you can achieve anything. Absolutely anything. It doesn't matter if it's a blog you want to do, if it's a book you want to write, a screenplay, whatever project you have in mind or thing you want to do. If you just start, you keep going, you take as much action as you can, and then you get back on track when you fall off, there's nothing in this entire world that you cannot achieve. So knowing all of this, my final tip that I would share for anyone who is in this place where you have these projects you want to do but you haven't started yet, or maybe you've started but then maybe you got burned out a little bit, or you got tired of what you were doing and so you stopped, then I would say this last thing, which is be open to pivoting and allowing yourself to pivot with clarity. So as you go through your journey, so when you actually start doing something and you're being consistent with it, it's going to give you clarity, because every new action that you take gives you clarity on either, yes, I feel like this is the right, direction, or no, this doesn't feel like the right direction. But you can't know that shit ahead of time because it's just impossible to see that. So when you first start, the thing that people always do mistakenly is worry about what's going to come later. What's going to happen in 6 months? Am I still going to be able to write about this in a year? But don't do that to yourself, because all that's going to do is overwhelm you and make you think that you have to know all this stuff ahead of time when you totally don't. I did not know all of the steps that were going to take me from starting my blog in 2008 to where I am right now. I had no clue. But I just kept taking action. And as I did, I got more and more clarity on the things I wanted or the things that didn't really work for me anymore. So, I've had different iterations of my blog over the last 10 years. So it was Procrastinating Writers for 5-6 years. Then I started a blog called Inky Bites. Then I moved all the content from those blogs to jenniferblanchard.net, which was my, my official writing blog. Now I've got a new blog, Dream Life or Bust. But the whole thing is that I allowed myself to pivot with clarity. So as I realized things, as I got new ideas, or as I realized that, this is another direction I want to go, or whatever, I just gave myself permission to pivot, as opposed to being really strict and being like, well, this blog I started, I don't really want to write about this topic anymore, but, I already started it, so I should continue on. It's like, no, because that's one way to not have any fun. So if you find yourself doing something that doesn't feel fun anymore, then find a way to continue to be consistent with it, but in a new direction. So maybe you just need to pivot. Maybe you need another topic to write about. Maybe you need, something else to bring into it. So maybe you would rather do video instead of writing now. And so it's being open to different ways that you can continue to go forward and to continue achieving, different milestones in your journey. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm 10 years in and I still feel like I should be further along. But, it is what it is. So you work as hard as you can, you do what you can, but then you also have to realize that growth is going to happen, and you are, as a person, are going to change a lot as you go through this journey. The things you're interested in are going to change. The way you do things is going to change. So rather than forcing yourself into, I have to be this, stick to this thing because that's what I started, pivot. Allow yourself to pivot when you feel like it. So like I said, I started off with 1 blog post a week, then I decided to do 3 a week, then I went to 5 a week, then I sort of jumped around to, whatever sort of feels like this is what I feel like writing this week. But the whole thing was that I had that consistency built up long enough where I didn't, it didn't matter if I started to make pivots because I had already been consistent for so long. So that's all you ever have to do is just start where you are, take as much action as you can from where you are, not worrying about all the steps along the way or all the other stuff you have to do, and just knowing that consistency is the thing that matters more than anything. So if you're consistent, it doesn't matter what you're doing, if it's fitness, if it's food habits, if it's writing, procrastination, getting over procrastination, whatever it is you're wanting to do, if you're consistent, even if you're only doing a little bit every day. So even if you're only writing 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, even if your workouts are only for 10 minutes or, you're working out every other day at this point, doesn't matter. If you're being consistent, you will get there because consistency matters more than anything else. And that's it. That's really the biggest things that I've discovered over the last 10 years of blogging. And of course, I had 10 lessons that I learned that I wish I knew back when I first started, which I did 2 videos on this week. So if you haven't checked those out yet, be sure to do that because they are full of really badass stuff that I wish I knew when I first started, and hopefully it will help you as well. So just go to the videos tab of this Facebook page and you can check out those 2 videos as well. That is it for me right now. So I just wanted to come on here and share those little things that have been in my mind today. Also to share that I finished my screenplay first draft because I'm pumped about that, and it's something, like I said, I've been wanting to do for a really long time now, so I'm excited that that is done. What else? Oh, lots of freebies going on this week. So if you guys haven't already checked these out, go to my Dream Life or Bust Facebook group. Check out all the daily giveaways that are going on. So I'm giving away free stuff every day this week. If you go to my personal Facebook page, the one that's called Jennifer Blanchard Williams, you can sign up for a chance to win one of these Dream Life or Bust t-shirts. So this one or many of the other ones that are in my shop. Just go over there to look for that post. What else? Oh, and last thing, I am having a badass free challenge that starts on Monday. It's a 7-day free challenge. It's happening inside my Dream Life or Bust Facebook group. It's called How Good Can You Feel? And it's all focused on feeling as good as humanly possible for the 7 days of the challenge. And the reason I created this is because the number one thing that I've learned through my 10 years of blogging, through my 6 years of being a full-time entrepreneur, through everything that I've done so far in my life is this: feeling good is the only thing that matters. And if you feel good, then you are on the vibrational level of all the things that you desire to have. And if you feel good, the rest of the shit doesn't matter because you feel good in the process. So it's like, even if you might be stuck or feeling like you're struggling a little bit, if you just find a way to feel good in those moments, then you can get through anything and you can achieve anything and you can create, be, do, and have anything. It all comes down to feeling good. That is the whole point. That is why you're after all the goals that you have, because you think that getting there is going to make you feel a certain way. The whole thing is, rather than waiting until you get there to feel that way, why not just feel that way right now? And realize that if you continue to create those feelings now, then not only do you not need that stuff anymore, but then also you make it easier for that stuff to come to you because now you're not resisting it. Now you actually are just putting yourself in a place where you feel really good. And so you're on that same level of all the dreams and all the goals and all the stuff that you want to achieve. So feeling good is the number one priority that I think everybody should have. And that is why I'm doing this challenge, because, it's all about feeling good. And we as humans are not taught to feel good. We are taught that feeling good is bad. We're taught that feeling good, can't last too long, that the other shoe's going to drop. Or as my mom would always say, knock on wood, because something bad might happen if you talk too much about good stuff going on. So I am here to blast all that shit out of the water because it's total bullshit. It does not at all have to be your experience in life. And you can choose right now to no longer believe that shit. And we're going to do that in this free 7-day challenge. How good can you feel? So if you want to sign up for the challenge, you can go to dreamliferbust.com/feelgood to get on the email list for the challenge, or you can just go to the Dream Life or Bust Facebook group and all of the content for the challenge will go in there as well. So that is it for me. I am going to go celebrate my 10-year blogiversary and the fact that I just finished the first draft of my first screenplay. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week, as good of a week as I am. I would love to hear from you if you want to share in the comments how your week's going. I know a lot of you are going to watch this as a replay, so feel free to comment or ask questions. I'll come back later and check them. And I will catch you guys next time.